Congressman, it's good to see you here. It took hours for the public to get clarity from the FAA on why it closed El Paso International Airport, then talk that the military was testing lasers. The FAA wanted to be, cautious to make sure no civilian aircraft were impacted. But why wasn't this better coordinated between Fort Bliss and the airport? They've been side by side for decades.
Yeah, this should have been better coordinated. It was deja vu for me. I represent a district that's two-thirds of the Texas-Mexico border. And just a few months ago in our neighboring county, Hudspeth County, something similar happened. Now, it was a much smaller population, so it didn't get that much attention. El Paso airspace is the 23rd largest airport in the country. A lot of people woke up in shock, but it really was a miscommunication. We have to do a better job of that, especially as we work towards countering these drones that are intruding in our airspace on a daily basis and are a growing threat to all airports all across the country.
When you take a look at this, what happened in El Paso, who dropped the ball here? Was it the FAA? Was it the military?
In my experience, when you have multiple agencies in charge, it is a lack of coordination. Everyone's in a silo. They're used to being in a silo. And one of the things that we need to do is we have to work better together. Department of War has to talk to Department of Homeland Security, and FAA has to do a better job of talking as well. And so a lot of times people go, no, I'm the lead. No, I'm the lead. No, I'm the lead. Well, when you shut down airspace, that impacts not only the local community, but it also scares a lot of people. You had a lot of different theories on why it was occurring, and part of that is it creates this public distrust. It creates public anxiety. It makes people feel as if things are unsafe. That was not the case at all. We need to get towards a very clear understanding, clear procedures in place when something like this occurs.
After that deadly midair collision last year in D.C. at Ronald Reagan National Airport there, between that military helicopter and the American Eagle jet, the failure to coordinate between the military and the FAA was cited as one of the reasons there. What's it going to take to clean things up between the two agencies?
Yeah, as you know, out here in West Texas, a lot of times we feel like we're alone, and we shouldn't feel that way. And hopefully, it shouldn't take a mass casualty event to occur. We should take this, unfortunate event that caused all this chaos and uncertainty as a way of how do we fix this? How do we make sure this doesn't happen again? How do we make sure this doesn't happen in Fort Worth or San Antonio or Houston or anywhere else in the country? How do we make sure that when there is something that occurs, us having the ability to shoot down drones via lasers is not a new technology. It's a growing technology. It's something that I envision every airport having the ability to do as we see these drones be more of a threat to our people. But there has to be procedures in place where folks, especially at the local and federal and the state level, know what is happening. It can't just be a unilateral FAA waking up and saying, we're shutting your airspace down today.
You think we'll get to a point where airports will have the capability to shoot down drones that are in their airspace?
To be frank, we should already have that capability now. The fact that we don't, as a country, we are behind the power curve, Jason. And these threats are real. These threats are happening all over the world. Anyone can basically buy a drone at Best Buy, arm it with some sort of material and cause damage. This is already happening in other parts of the world. Once again, I don't want to wait for us to happen here in the United States before we go, what do we do about it? We need to protect our airspace, specifically our airports.
The Russia-Ukraine war showed how easy it is to use a cheap drone somewhere and turn it into a lethal weapon. I know, Congressman, you've pushed for the military to build out its counter drone system, but how far along are we, and how far behind are we?
We're behind, but we're making progress. In the big, beautiful bill, we were able to get $500 million for funding for Department of Homeland Security to do counter UAS, counter drones. I think that was key. We also, in the National Defense Authorization Act, we used some of my language. They gave authorization to some of these agencies to work together, to coordinate. So part of I think what we saw a few days ago in El Paso was the beginning growing pains of some of these departments starting to implement those things. But we need to work through those growing pains very quickly, and once again make sure public safety is there, as well as making sure that coordination, collaboration, that we don't have these unilateral decisions made by one agency or the other.
Congressman, let's talk for a moment about the partial government shutdown. The Democrats have blocked funding for the Department of Homeland Security. They're still upset about the chaos we watched in Minneapolis with the ICE agents there. But what is it going to take to reach resolution here? And do you expect any movement from Republicans?
Yeah, the part that frustrates me is the Democrats are essentially saying you have to make concessions on ICE, or we're going to hold DHS hostage. The problem is you shut down DHS. With DHS being shut down, that means TSA agents don't get paid. That means Secret Service agents don't get paid. That means our Coast Guard doesn't get paid. CISA, who's in charge of any major cyber attack against our country, doesn't get paid. FEMA. FEMA's been so key to all the different emergencies that happen. So the sooner we can resolve this, the better. I think there are some things that Republicans are willing to have the conversation on. The body cameras make a lot of sense to me. This week, I had a hearing that I specifically asked the ICE director if they would be willing to release more footage of these body cams, and he absolutely agreed to that. Once again, having a transparent government where you see not only the bad things that happen, but also the good things that the agents are doing with their body cam footage being more transparent, I think is a good thing for our country. That's one area that I think brings us together.
How long is it going to take to reach resolution? Any thoughts on that and
You
predictions?
know, it seems like both sides are dug in. As a Republican, we're not gonna give in on not allowing officers to not protect themselves from these threats. Wearing a mask. If rioters can wear a mask, then agents can wear a mask. We're also not going to allow the Democrats to defund ICE. And then on their side, they're dug in. So hopefully, that we can come to a resolution. I was at the White House earlier this week having some conversations. Hopefully, there can be more of that. But right now, it appears as if both sides are kind of dug in.
Congressman, it's good to see you. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Jason.